Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is about to potentially retest this critical area of support again. So this is something that we need to pay attention to because more liquidation levels are building to the downside below the Bitcoin price and just below that key area of support, while Ethereum is right now forming a new pattern in the short term that we need to pay attention to, while XRP is officially breaking out above key resistance, while the price of Chainlink and Solana are still trading above these key areas of support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and right now Bitcoin is technically still within a larger bull market based on this chart right here, so not much has changed on this chart over the last one day. And taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, of course we're still losing bullish momentum in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, very similar to what we saw 1 year ago. So first of all, just over 1 year ago, around October 2023, we saw a huge bullish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, and what came next was a massive bullish move over the next couple of months or so, up until around early to mid-December. And we saw the exact same thing just recently over the last few months. We saw a bullish crossover in this indicator in October, just like October 2023. We saw it in October 2024, followed by another massive bullish move over the next couple of months, all the way up until around early to mid-December, which is exactly where we started to lose bullish momentum in this indicator, just like last time. And of course, what came next after the last time this happened was a massive sideways consolidation. So short-term dumps and short-term bounces, basically chopping around sideways all the way up until pretty much the end of January, and even early February is when we finally started that next major move in the price of Bitcoin. But for most of January, we were still just chopping around sideways here on the larger time frames. And so as I've been saying basically every day for the last month here on the channel, expect a lot of choppy sideways price action on this chart right here, potentially until the second half of January as the most likely scenario. And then as we get near the end of January, we might start getting ready for that next major move in the price of Bitcoin. But until then, don't expect anything too significant on this chart right here. And if we're taking a look at this 4-day Bitcoin chart, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, of course, we're still seeing this massive bearish divergence, which is still currently active on the weekly time frame, telling us we're losing a lot of bullish momentum right now, as I've been saying for basically the last month. And so once again, this aligns very well with this chart right here, telling us we're losing bullish momentum in this MACD, most likely resulting in either some choppy sideways price action or potentially a little bit of a pullback at some point in the next couple of weeks as the most likely scenario. But a bearish divergence by itself is not always a bearish reversal signal. It doesn't always result in a new bear market, for example, because just as an example, we saw a small bearish divergence on the weekly time frame right here with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. And of course, we did not start a new bear market right here near around mid 2023, but instead what we did see was, of course, a decent sized dump. We did see a decent pullback over the next 1 or 2 months following that bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, before ultimately recovering out of that pullback and continuing the bull market later on. And so based on these charts right here, and based on the 4-year Bitcoin halving cycles, I've been saying over the last month or so, a likely scenario is perhaps a little bit of a correction or some choppy sideways price action. So once again, a cool off for the time being. And then perhaps in a couple of months from now, we might end up seeing another continuation of the bull market to make a new higher high in the price of Bitcoin. But while that is happening, the RSI on the weekly time frame might set a new lower high in place, extending this bearish divergence to a much larger bearish divergence. And then perhaps at that point later in 2025, we may end up starting the next bear market. And so that's just a likely scenario based on Bitcoin's price history, based on the 4-year halving cycles and all of these charts right here showing what is likely going to happen. Not guaranteed, but what is likely going to happen in the coming weeks and potentially in the coming months. And we also have to keep in mind, we still have significant resistance at around 102,000 based on this 1618 Fibonacci extension attention level sitting at around 102k, acting as major resistance. And of course, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, personally, I take a lot of my trades over on Bitfinex, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bitfinex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive deposit bonus that you can only claim using that link. And by the way, this is only available for just one more day. And so if you want to get essentially free money, because all we have to do is just deposit and start trading to get these bonuses, check it out. First link below this video. If you deposit just $100 and start trading, you get a $20 bonus. If you deposit $500 and start trading, you get a $100 bonus. If you deposit $1,000 and start trading, you get a $200 bonus straight into your new account. But once again, that is only available using that link below this video to make your account and start trading on that account. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And also, in case you're wondering, Bitfinex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want Bitfinex as an exchange, there is also Bybit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I will also make sure to leave a link to Bybit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, taking a look at this Bitcoin chart on the 12-hour time frame, and right now, as of recording this video, it's looking likely that the price of Bitcoin may come back down towards this area of support again for potentially another retest. And of course, this area of support is still sitting in between around 92,000 to 93,000. And previously, over the last couple of months or so, this has been significant support for the price of Bitcoin. As we could see, we've seen multiple significant bounces from this support line. And so this is definitely something to pay attention to. If we do come in for another retest again, expect support around there. But if we actually break below this support finally and see candle closes confirming a break to the downside below 92,000, in that case, that would be bad news, at least for the next few days or weeks following that break. And so in the meantime, the price of Bitcoin is basically in a massive sideways price range, as we can see, playing out a lot of choppy sideways price action, as I've been saying for the last month or so, based on this chart right here. And ultimately, that sideways price range is in between this support at around 92,000 and this area of resistance at around 102 to 103,000. And we also have some resistance at around 106 to 107,000 approximately, based on this high, the all-time high. But of course, if we start seeing a major break below 92,000 approximately, with candle closes below that level, then of course we'll be leaving this sideways price range. So in that scenario, we would likely enter a little bit more of a correction, which could also be caused by this bearish divergence on the weekly time frame. So keep that in mind. And in case you're new to this channel, when it comes to price targets for that scenario right there, which is not in play right now, but if we break below 92,000, what would happen next? Well, first of all, I'll be looking at potentially around 89,500 as a bit of short-term support right here, and also at around 87,000 as another potential point of support. But as for price targets to the downside, I'll basically be looking at this pattern right here, this head and shoulders pattern on the daily Bitcoin chart, with the neckline currently sitting at roughly around 92,500. So ultimately, we need to see candle closes below around 92,000 in order to confirm the bearish scenario, confirm the break below support, and confirm this pattern, which in that scenario, that would set up a bearish price target based on this bearish pattern sitting at just above around 80,000. So around 80,500 as a technical price target. But of course, even if we have a price target at around 80.5k, we cannot ignore those other points of support. So even if we break below 92,000, we can still bounce at some of these other levels of support. But from that point of the break to the downside here to that price target, that's possibly around a 12 to 13% move towards the downside, which could start playing out if we first break below this area of support. So that is why this support is so important for the price of Bitcoin. But obviously for now, as of recording this video, while the price is still above this support, we're still looking okay here in the short term. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, right now, we still have a massive amount of liquidity sitting at very close to 91 91,000 as we could see, and basically just underneath 91,000 we have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of long liquidations, which means if the price breaks below that area on the price chart, starts breaking well below 91,000, in that case that will liquidate a bunch of long positions, which can accelerate a drop towards the downside. And so we just have to be aware of these risks that are in the charts right now. If we first break below this support, that is when that bearish scenario would start. But for now, it's not in play. It's just if we break below around 92k and especially below 91k, which would potentially start a long squeeze based on this chart. But of course, as traders, we can still profit even in that scenario. Even if the price starts that bearish scenario and heads towards this bearish price target, we can, for example, take some sort of short position right here, just below this support once we confirm a break to make profit along the way to the downside, and then perhaps take profits out of that short position around some key levels of support and around the price target for this pattern. That is just one potential example of how we can profit even from bearish price action. And once again, if you want to take any trades just like that, check out those links below this video to claim those extra bonuses over on those exchanges. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, and right now Ethereum is still trading right around this important Fibonacci level of support, sitting at just above 3.2k, mainly at around 32.40 give or take. But if we start breaking below especially 3.2k with candle closes below that level, then in that case we could find some support at around 3.1k. But below 3.1k, the next significant level of support towards the downside is this Fibonacci level sitting at around 2.8k. So if we break below around 3.2k, 2.8k could be likely. But if we're taking a look at this weekly time frame, it's still possible. If we bounce very soon and see a recovery very soon over the next couple of weeks, it's still possible we could form this massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. So this is just something to pay attention to in case it completes. But right now it is not confirmed. It is not in play right now, as I've been saying this entire time. It's something to watch but nothing to act on until it potentially confirms. And by the way, in order for this bullish pattern to confirm, because it's an inverse head and shoulders pattern, we need to see a confirmed breakout on the weekly time frame above around 4,000 to 4.1k in order to confirm the pattern and confirm the price target. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at the daily time frame right now, obviously we're starting to possibly form this bullish divergence, but we don't really have a lot of confirmation here in the RSI. As we can see, we haven't really fully cemented that higher low in place, so it's very close to possibly invalidating. But if we see a little bit more of a bounce here in the RSI, properly confirming that higher low in place like this, for example, then in that case, that would further confirm this bullish divergence. And in that scenario, we could likely see either a bit of choppy sideways price action or a slight bullish relief as the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. And overall, in the somewhat shorter term, the price of ETH is currently within a bit of a sideways price range in between this area of support and this area of resistance. First of all, this area of support is sitting in between around 3,000 to 3.1k, and this area of resistance is sitting in between around 34.30 to 35.60. So ultimately the price is just chopping around sideways between that area of support and resistance for the time being. And of course, if we see a little bit more of a pullback here back down towards this area of support, which can drag the RSI further towards the downside, then in that scenario, if the RSI breaks below this previous low back here to form lower lows in the RSI alongside lower lows in the price, then there'll be no bullish divergence at all. So keep that in mind. This could easily invalidate with a quick little move towards the downside like this, but it's still something to pay attention to in case we see a little bit more of a bounce that could lead into a further relief over the next few days or over the next week or so if we see a little bit more confirmation here in the RSI. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at the Chainlink chart on the 8-hour time frame right now, once again, Chainlink is still trading in this area of support right here, sitting in between around $19.50 to $20.50. So not much has really changed over the last one day for Chainlink. We're still trading right around where we were just yesterday. And so ultimately, when it comes to the shorter term trend on this 8-hour time frame, we're looking neutral to bearish, because clearly we're seeing lower highs and lower lows on that 8-hour time frame, which is bearish price structure. But while we're still holding above this area of support, it's still possible we could remain within a bit of a sideways price range, which which is why I'm saying neutral to bearish when it comes to the price structure or the trend as of right now. And as for the next level of support towards the downside, if we were to confirm a break below around $19.50, then in that case, we could find some support at around $18.60 to $18.70. But below that, the next important support would be sitting at around $17.50 if we first break below around $19.50. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Solana on the 8-hour time frame, right now Solana is still running into this important area of support in between around $180 to $184 approximately. So right now, and as we've seen previously, we have a lot of support right there. But if we start breaking below around $180, then in that case, the next important area of support towards the downside is sitting closer towards around 160, in between around 156 to 161, so right around 160 once again. But for now, the price of Solana is currently looking relatively neutral in the imminent short term here, as in talking about the coming hours or days, we're looking quite neutral, as the price is obviously lacking momentum in the imminent short term. Over the last one day, we have been trading pretty much perfectly sideways, and of course, we're also in a bit of a sideways price range right now in between that area of support at close to 180 and this area of resistance in between 200 to 205, acting as major resistance. And also, this bearish divergence is not exactly that relevant anymore. Obviously, it already played out very well over the last 1 week approximately, but I would not necessarily rely too heavily on this bearish divergence to continue any longer. But of course, even though that's the case, it's still possible we can ultimately break below support. It's just not necessarily based on this bearish divergence right here. And if we're taking a look at the XRP chart on the weekly time frame, right now XRP is actually playing out a decent sized bounce, as we can see from this major point of support at pretty much exactly $2, because first of all, based on $2, based on this previous high right here, $2 was significant resistance previously, and recently that significant resistance has been flipped into new support over the last month or so. And so, as I've actually said quite a few times here on the channel over the last 1 to 2 months, we have a lot of support at around $2, but we also have a lot of resistance at very close to $3. So we have this 1618 Fibonacci extension level on the weekly time frame at pretty much exactly $3, but that resistance really starts at just underneath $3 at around $2.90 to $3, because of course there's some sellers front running that resistance, causing more resistance at closer towards $2.90. And so those are the significant levels of support and resistance on the larger time frames. And technically speaking, despite this short-term dump or correction that we've seen over the last 1 to 2 months or so, obviously we can still remain within a larger bull market, because previously in previous bull markets, of course, we have seen dumps along the way. That is still normal even during a bull run. But if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 12-hour time frame, what we have finally now seen after quite a while is an actual change in the price structure, a final breakout from this descending parallel channel. So obviously this descending parallel channel was technically a short-term bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows, but more recently we've started to finally form some higher lows, and now starting to form some higher highs in the price chart, and now officially confirming a 12-hour candle close here on the 12-hour time frame above this line of resistance, which was sitting at around $2.42 approximately to $2.43, and we also broke out above this previous high right here, which was sitting closer towards around $2.50. And so just in the last 24 hours, this is a massive change in price structure for the price of XRP, at least in the shorter term here. So obviously I'll no longer be focusing on this descending parallel channel, because we've clearly broken out from that parallel channel right now. And so I would now expect support along this line right here. If we were to see a little bit of a pullback, once again, that doesn't necessarily have to happen, but if we see a bit of a pullback, I would now expect support right here at around $2.41 to $2.42, and also at close to $2.50. Based on this high, I'd now expect support around $2.50. And as for levels of resistance to watch out for, we do have some resistance based on this high right here, sitting at around $2.61. So just above $2.60, we have a decent amount of resistance right there. But above $2.60, we have this high right here, also acting as resistance at around $2.69, so close to $2.70. And above that, we also have a decent amount of resistance at around $2.87. And remember, zooming out on the larger time frames, in between $2.90 to $3, that could could also act as significant resistance. And so just be aware of those price levels on the XRP price chart as levels where the price is most likely going to struggle at, as we've already started to see at close to $2.60. And remember, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to profit from crypto, know how to trade crypto, no matter if the prices are bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.